Welcome boys and girls from YouTube. My name is Sloth and this is the SlothForge. And in today's video, I want to break down the 3 elemental domains with you. Now, I've created some very free-to-play friendly teams for every single domain, but this is the first disclaimer. You actually have to use different teams for the different domains. The first reason is because they have different mechanics. Every single boss has a different mechanic. And the second reason is, and this actually made building these teams a little bit harder, is because you cannot use, or at least you should not use, heroes from the same element as the domain is. So for example, in the wildfire domain, you should definitely not use fire or poison heroes because they deal 90% less damage and also receive 90% more damage. So this is why you should not use fire or poison heroes when it comes to the wildfire domain, and same for the other domains. Now, the second disclaimer is that we are running stage 17. We are not running stage 18 because I've created some very weak versions of the heroes. So, for example, let me show you my Tauren. He's good build, but there is way more room for improvement. He has not much enlightenment and he has a very bad gear set as well. We don't need resistance, and the 3-piece set here has no usage at all because we have not enough resistance to resist anything, so this gets never activated. Same for the chest. It has no real purpose on this hero. So what I mean is that there is much more room for improvement. You could use way better gear sets on Tauren. You could also use a way better artifact. Don't get me wrong, the Luminary Order Gospel is a very strong artifact. Actually, it's one of the best epic artifacts. But there are better versions in the legendary and in the mythical spot. So the mirror in the legendary spot is very good as well. Or if you have the horn, the mythical horn, this is probably the best slot for Tauren. So this is what I mean when I say that these are not the best versions of the heroes. There is much room for improvement. And the third disclaimer I want to mention real quick is that none of these heroes are mandatory. So for example, I am using Vidimir and Rava for DPS, but you can use many other heroes for DPS as well. Actually, most DPS legendary units should do a better job than Vidimir and Rava. So for example, if you have Nasty J, or if you have Ramza, if you have Lelvanis, if you have Auster, these are all way better options than Vidimir and Rava. They are just the DPS slot, and you can use any DPS hero instead of them. But if you are using epic DPS units, Rava and Vidimir are actually very good for this purpose. Now, Garius, he is the only hero that he is not mandatory, but I would highly recommend you to use Garius, just because he is an insanely strong hero, and even endgame players with very strong accounts, with very big hero rosters, and with very high developed accounts are still using Garius just because he is an insanely strong epic. He is very tanky. He gets tankier the longer the battle goes, thanks to his passive, and he's also healing for big amounts. And once again, the longer the battle goes, the bigger his healing gets. And this is why I would highly recommend you to use the Gatekeeper staff, if you have the Gatekeeper staff, because it is definitely the best slot item for Garius, and it is probably one of the strongest artifacts. It is definitely not the first artifact that you should go for. The first artifact that you should go for is the Witch's Remains. But yeah, and I would recommend you to use the Witch's Remains on Rava and build him with a little bit of accuracy, so he can apply the defense down, because his ultimate is just perfect for this. It's AoE, it's multi-hitting, and he also needs accuracy to apply those frost debuffs, which helps Vidimir dealing even more damage. Vidimir, he is only built for damage, and that's it pretty much. Now Tauren, he is also here just for healing, And he is the only legendary hero that we are using in these 3 teams. And I'm using him because I think that at least 90% or 95% of the players out there have Tauren, because he was more or less free in the first week. There are some poor souls who did not get him, but I think that most players of you who are watching this right now have Tauren. And for the poor people that for some reason did not get Tauren, I think you had to reach top 2000 in the first week in the arena, which was absolutely possible because the arena was spreaded with bots in the first week. So everyone should have been able to reach top 2000. So this is why I think I did not ever see an account, or yeah, I only saw 1 or 2 accounts where no Tauren was available. This is why we are using him, and I still say that this is a free-to-play team. Now the last hero, and this is also Catherine. She is not mandatory, but I would highly recommend Catherine. If you do not have Catherine, you need another hero that has an ultimate, that has an AoE debuff immunity. You need this debuff immunity for the boss. Because Akara, the boss, is hitting extremely hard. In the first 2 skills, she is applying burn debuffs. And those burn debuffs deal a very high amount of damage. And then, in her ultimate, she is instantly activating those burn debuffs. And most of the time, she's killing the whole team. She's one-shotting the team. If you have nothing, for example, like Zephy, someone, or Ogok, who makes you unkillable, of course, this is a strategy as well, but they are not as free-to-play friendly. This is why we are using the strategy where we are using debuff immunity. And if you have someone else who places debuff immunity on an AoE, on the ultimate, then you can absolutely go with it. For example, Asilia is a very strong hero that fits this role way better than Catherine does. But for this video, we are using Catherine because she's an epic, and most people out there have her or will get her probably sooner or later. And that's it. That's the team. One more thing to mention. I want to show you the skill timing. And we are using a 19.5 recast skill timing on Catherine. And I will show to you why in just a second. If you start this battle, the very first thing that you are going to do is delaying Catherine's ultimate. Because it is extremely hard to set up a correct skill timing or a proper skill timing, because we have to clear 2 stages, and clearing 2 stages is there is always a lot of RNG involved, and you cannot clear those 2 stages in always the exact same period of time. This is why it is extremely hard or nearly impossible to set up a proper skill timing for your whole team for those domains. This is why I am using this little cheat code and just delaying her ultimate. And since we have Garius and Tauren, it is absolutely fine. They are healing for more than enough, and you do not need Catherine for here. And as you can see, Vidimir and Rava are dealing more than enough damage. And now the crucial part comes. You want to time her ultimate manually. You want to time it perfectly. Now, the point when you should use your ultimate is exactly now. Right after he reaches his first skill, or she, right after the boss, after she reaches her first skill, but right before she is using the skill. It's somewhere between here and here. It's absolutely fine. Just after he reaches this stage, you are using the ultimate and applying the debuff immunity, and you are absolutely fine. Actually, there is a bit more room for him, there's a bit more time to use the skill. I think you could even use the skill a bit before she's using her skill. But this, I found, for me, is the sweet spot, the perfect spot. And, well, that's it pretty much. And this is why we are using a 19.5 seconds recast timer on Catherine. And as you can see, This is a perfect tune, it's the sweet spot, like I said. And now if you're wondering why we are using a 19.5 and not an 18 seconds recast timing, the reason for is because we are using two Frost heroes. And these two Frost heroes apply the Frost debuff and also the Frozen debuff. Now, the Frozen debuff results in a 20% speed penalty for the boss, which means he is not cycling at the exact same time like he normally does through his skills. And this actually makes this fight a little bit harder to build a team around. So if you have something like Premza or Gulende or Nasty J, whatever, they are way better than Rava and Vidimir because it just makes this run a little bit more smoother, a little bit more reliable, because sometimes it happens that you are not applying the Frozen debuff and then the boss and Catherine are not longer in sync and it gets a bit, yeah, it sometimes fails. But it still is like a 90% win rate. And yeah, I think it's a pretty nice team. And as you can see, it's a very reasonable time as well. Now I know it is not 100% auto, it is more like 95% auto because you once have to time Catherine's ultimate, but you can use this and farm stage 17 with an absolutely free-to-play friendly team. Now if you do not want to manual Catherine, you just can farm 1 or 2 stages lower, which is absolutely fine as well because, like I already mentioned, the difference between stage 15, 16, 17, there is not that big of a difference. Actually, you always get 10 legendary materials, and all we care for right now are the epic and the legendary materials, and you always get 10, no matter if you are running stage 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, or even 18. And another disclaimer I wanted to mention real quick is that sometimes, as you saw, Vidimir and Rava, they are built for damage, and they are not that tanky, and sometimes one of them dies. But this is absolutely fine. It happens, and as long as one of them survives, they actually are able to clear the boss on their own. Because as you can see, we have nearly 2 minutes left, and as long as either Vidimir or Rava survive, it is absolutely fine, they can clear the boss on their own. But if both heroes dies, then you should probably start the battle again. It's not a big of a deal, to be honest, because, yeah, you do not lose any stamina if you lose a battle. Your stamina only gets consumed if you successfully clear a stage. And one last thing, just to make it even more convenient for you, is this reward multiplier. I showed it in the other videos as well. I wanted to show it again, because especially here, if you are not run the boss on full auto, it is just a bit more convenient. If you know that you need more materials, you can just use the reward multiplier and you use 30 instead of 10 stamina, but also you reap 3 times the rewards. So the result is exactly the same. It just saves you a lot of time. And now here, let me show you this once again. The difference between the stages is only on the red materials. And right now, we really do not need the red materials. Once we reach the stage where we need red materials, we can push our resonance level way further and should have absolutely no problem with farming stage 18. So this is why right now, if you are farming not stage 18, it's absolutely fine. As long as you are farming stage 13, you get 10 of these legendary materials, and this is our goal. This is absolutely fine, because these are the only materials that we need right now. Now, let's talk about the second team, the Tempest Domain. Now this, once again, is not that easy. It was actually also a little bit harder, and this run fails sometimes because there is also a little bit of RNG involved. And this is, or not this, but this, yeah, it is one reason why I've created 2 different teams. Or they are relatively similar, there's only one difference. This is the team that deals a little bit more damage. This is the Tempest Domain team that is a bit more focused on sustain. Because when it comes to this boss, it very much depends on your gear, what is more needed. So, because the boss is spawning ads, let me show you this real quick. On the third skill, the boss is spawning 5 ads, and you have like 5 or 6 seconds, or maybe 8 seconds time to kill those ads. And you really have to kill those ads, because if you kill not all of these ads, he consumes these ads when he rejoins the battlefield and deals more damage the more ads are alive. So this is why a team with 3 DPS units is actually very good or recommended for this stage. But if you have better damage dealers than Vidimir and Rava, you can use someone else instead of Sigrid, and it is absolutely fine. Now, one more thing to mention is that my Sigrid is built not good. It's absolutely built not good. Like you can see, yeah, she has good crit rate, the crit damage is not that good, and her attack is very bad. And her attack and her accuracy are not enough. It's not even close, and you should not build your Sigrid like this. You should focus on attack and accuracy, and then if you have some more room for improvement, you can focus on a little bit more crit rate, but attack and accuracy should be your focus. Now I am using this weaker version of Sigrid just to once again show you that even with not the very best gear, these dungeons are possible. Or farming these stages up to stage 17 with these relatively free-to-play friendly teams is possible. Now, out of convenience, I'm going to use this buff food just for the 10% attack buff. We do not need the accuracy buff because our heroes have nearly enough or enough accuracy, and Sigrid is still not applying her debuff. But we just use this food for a little bit of attack, because your attack is the most important part when it comes to this team. Now let's have a look. As you can see, the first two waves, they clear them relatively fast once again, because not only Sigrid is dealing good damage, but especially Vidimir. He's dealing very good damage when it comes to waves. Also, Vidimir is insanely strong when it comes to the goblin. Just in case you still need someone to farm the goblin, then maybe you should give Vidimir a try. But yeah, now that's it. Hopefully, yeah, if he times his ultimate bad, then it takes a little bit longer. And sadly, he is not in sync with, or it is not possible to sync him with Rava, because he just gets his ultimate back very fast, because he has like nearly the same passive like Sigrid. But I don't want to talk about Vidimir any longer. Now, there is another very important part when it comes to this team. We once more delay our 3 DPS heroes, because you do not have to delay them, especially if you're farming stage 15 or 16. There is absolutely no need to delay them. But if you want to farm stage 17, I would recommend you to delay their ultimates so you can use them on the ads. Because you do not have to deal damage on the boss at all, because the boss, every time he is spawning these ads, he is sacrificing 25% of his HP. So you do not need to deal damage on the boss. You actually want to deal damage on the ads. Now, when these ads spawn, I would recommend you to first use the ultimate of your Witch Remains holder, in this case Rava. Wait until he applies some defense down debuffs. As you can see, some are placed, 2, 3, and now we can just use the ultimates of Vidimir and Sigrid and clear those ads. As you can see, we've been lucky. We've killed 4 ads, 1 survived, so we got a big amount of damage. If possible, you always want to kill all 5 ads, but otherwise, not just deals he a lot of damage, but he also gets healed if you do not kill all of the ads. So this is actually a very hard run, and stage 17, this is more like a 50-50% chance. Let's hope that we can finish this. So now once again, he consumes his HP, we place the defense down. Now Vidimir and Sigrid start their ultimates, and it's easy going. They easily down it. And the longer the battle goes, the more your heroes gain a recharge speed buff. So not only the boss is getting this buff, but also your heroes are getting this buff, which makes it run very smooth. And especially if you're running stage 15 and 16, it is absolutely fine to just leave your DPS units on full auto. There is no problem about this. But like I said, if you're running stage 17 and you want to min-max as good as possible, then I would recommend you to do it just like I am doing it right here. Now, since we already have a lot of recharge speed, we are using our ultimate here once. Maybe this one as well. Or maybe this was a mistake. Maybe we are not cycling. Yeah, okay, we got the skills back on time, so all is fine. Now apply the defense down. Use Widimir. Sigrid. And there you go. And that's it. Like you saw, we've been lucky and applied the healing reduction from Sigrid, which makes this run even more convenient. This is why I said that you should build her with high attack and accuracy instead of building her like I did. This is just for showcase purpose. Now we can use our skills, because he is probably going to die. But yeah, I know, this is not a 100% auto run, but it is very high content. It is stage 17 out of 18, and it is a full free-to-play team. But if you do not want to manual the fight, and Tempest Domain 17, this is the fight where we actually have to manual more than just a little bit, more than in the last battle, then just farm 1 or 2 stages lower. There you are absolutely fine without manualing at all. Now, let's go at the last stage. Let's look at Frost Domain. We are already, the video is already at 22 minutes. I'm very sorry about this. This is a bit faster. We start this while the battle goes, and let a battle in the background. As you can see, we are actually using a legendary hero in this as well. We are not using Tauren because he gets way more damage and he dies in this stage because he is part of the Permafrost faction. We are using Wukong because he's also free-to-play friendly, because everyone should have Wukong. If you do not have Wukong, please comment below. I'm very interested in why you do not have Wukong, because I'm quite sure that everyone should have him. Now, of course, I did not show you the team. I will show you the team right after this battle. Schalter, he is a very strong Dauntless hero, and probably if you need someone for your Dauntless Vortex team, give Schalter a try, because Schalter is extremely strong, the cow. Because the ultimate, it buffs up every single basic attack of your Dauntless heroes, and since your Dauntless heroes are dealing are launching many basic attacks, Schalter is actually very strong. And once again, we are using Catherine just for healing. That's it actually. And sometimes she applies debuff immunity on time, but most times it's just delayed, so she's just here for healing. And Nimbus, this is another epic. We are using him for DPS and also as our Witch's Remains holder, because he has an ultimate which makes him a very good Witch Remains holder. And that's it pretty much. Their Wukong, or he's not Wukong, he's Divine Ascetic, I think its name is. He's just here for damage, that's it, that's all. And Garius, once again, is just here for sustainability. Now, Wukong, he is not even scrolled. So if you have your Wukong scrolled, then this run is even more faster, even quicker, even more reliable. But actually this run is absolutely reliable. It's absolutely full auto this time. We do not have to do anything. And they just down the boss. relatively fast. Thanks to Schalter, as you can see, he is our top DPS unit because he benefits from every single auto attack, basic attack that every single of these heroes does. And especially Nimbus, as you can see, once he starts, or once he activates his ultimate, he is getting a lot of attack speed and therefore launching many basic attacks. And yeah, that's it. No skill timings, no buff food, or maybe even, I think the buff food with the 10% attack was still up. But actually I would recommend you to use it if you have it, because yeah, it just makes the run a little bit faster. And why not use the buff food? Because yeah, either here or in the dungeons you should, actually this is a dungeon as well, you should use your buff food, because in stuff in the world bosses like Temporal Vortex and other world bosses that join the game once we are a bit further in the season, you cannot use your buff food, so absolutely no reason to not use buff food. And that's it. Now we have beaten all 3 domains, and all 3 domains we have beaten them with very free-to-play friendly teams. And once again, one more thing to mention is that here we have Wukong, Nimbus and Schalter. These are just DPS units, and you can use other heroes, many other heroes, as long as they are not from the Permafrost faction when it comes to this domain. Because like I said, heroes from the Permafrost, Cold and Necrotic heroes are nerfed heavily. So I would highly recommend to use someone from the Resplendence or Wildfire faction. So in this case, Wukong, Nimbus and Schalter, but there are many different heroes that you could use. So yeah, that's it. Let me show you their gear real quick. This is Wukong, or Divine Ascetic, and like as you can see, I did not scroll him up. He's relatively well geared, yes. But he also has some accuracy. He has an accuracy chest, which is absolutely not needed. He is not placing any debuffs. So here, once again, there is so much room for improvement. And one more thing to mention is, if you are using Schalter, I would highly recommend you to use the Vile Ink. This is the perfect artifact for Schalter, because it has a downside that he can no longer critical hit, but you do not want Schalter to critical hit, because all of his damage comes from derivative damage, and this derivative damage gets buffed by 32% or up to 35%. And yeah, all he does is dealing derivative damage, and derivative damage cannot trigger hits. So this is absolutely no downside at all, because you do not need or want him to crit. And that's it pretty much. This is the team. These are the builds, and you can easily use other DPS heroes for them. You can also easily use someone else instead of Catherine. Catherine is just here for one purpose, and the purpose is healing the heroes. And there are many epics and legendary heroes, even some rare heroes that are able to heal. And well, that's it. I know that this was a very long video, 28 minutes. I'm sorry, but yeah, I've been showcasing 3 different teams and trying to explain the strategies behind these teams. So it takes a little bit longer. I'm sorry about this, but I really hope that these themes help you. If they helped you, feel free to comment below, leave a like and subscribe. And if you have any further questions or any ideas what you could use to even improve those teams with epic heroes or maybe even rare heroes, comment below. I'm very interested in your opinions. But now that's it for this video. Thanks for tuning in, and see you in the next one.